Hello, I'm your host, Andrew Leong, and welcome to #Ambitious. For anyone who has never tuned in before, #Ambitious is all about business, marketing, and startups. I interview entrepreneurs and professionals about their businesses, their journey, their struggles, and how they're growing their businesses. In this episode, we have Amy Wynn, founder of For Lunch. For Lunch is an award-winning social enterprise that runs cookery courses and food enterprise training and communities in Greater Manchester. Let's jump right in. Amy, I just wanted to thank you so much for being on the #Ambitious podcast. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself and your story and how you got to where you are today?
Okay, so my name's Amy Wynn. I'm the founder of For Lunch, and I started the company when I was 22 years old, straight out of university. I've never worked in an office, but I have a lot of retail experience since when I was 16. And For Lunch is basically a social enterprise which operates to help people and communities in Greater Manchester use food as a way to improve their life chances. So we do catering in Manchester. We do lots of parties. At the moment, we're doing lots of Christmas parties, events, weddings. We do street food as well, particularly at Manchester Airport. And we also run cookery classes, which I would say is my main gig. So we've currently just finished a course for the University of Manchester, teaching the students there how to cook, which is really fun, and do various other cookery activities for different community groups within Greater Manchester. And the whole aim of the business is to generate enough money through these commissions and contracts and orders so that we can offer pop-up cafes, free cookery workshops, free business training for these communities in need.
Okay, so I've got quite a few questions from all of that. Can we talk about the social enterprise aspect of your business then and what that involves and how it goes back to the community?
So a social enterprise is a business which operates with the intention of making profits, but always with a societal benefit in mind. And the definition of social enterprise, it doesn't have a particular legal structure it has to be, but there are legal structures associated with it. And the whole inspiration for starting a social enterprise versus a traditional for-profit business was because I was volunteering at university at a young person's charity, and I studied politics and economics, and everything I was learning in my degree was showing me, the effects of injustice, inequality on communities globally and locally as well. And I just thought, I need to get out of my student bubble and I need to volunteer. And I was working with these young people, saw that they had a lot of energy, a lot of potential, but they weren't actually doing anything. They were just kind of taking drugs, smoking a little weed, coming into this charity for breakfast clubs and things like that, feeling a little bit despondent. And I wanted to create a street food store so we could actually use the kitchen at the charity to get these young people doing something productive, and help hopefully improving their life skills and employability at the same time. So in order to do that, I thought a social enterprise structure would have been most appropriate. That's how I started, and I had a few ups and downs trying to figure out what legal structure to take. Because I just wanted to start, and I thought I was only doing it by myself. The limited by shares, the traditional for-profit legal structure I just took, because I didn't have any other directors at the time. But I realised as I was going further down that I shouldn't have done that because that kind of limited grant funding applications for me. So I ended up having to dissolve that company, keep the brand name, and then set up a new community interest company, which was limited by guarantee, which actually opened more funding opportunities for me. So that kind of was I had two companies in the background, but basically doing one thing, and I was just trying to transfer that over. So the social enterprise structures, it's not as straightforward as, say, just starting a for-profit business or being self-employed.
Sounds like there's a lot of barriers, is there? It just sounds really complicated.
Yeah, you almost have to think about your vision for the business like for 5 years time, like straight away, which is quite difficult when you've not done it before because you don't know if you're going to like it or not or what's going to happen. So you had to kind of think, how do I want to grow? Do I want to do it through doing grant funding or trust funding, or do I want to go down the commercial route and do it through sales and the traditional ways, which is doing sales? And it was I had a bit of a mixture. I did want to access some grant funding, but I also didn't want to be reliant on it because that's more like a charity. So you'd have to kind of look at all those applications and the requirements way in advance, and to say, oh, okay, so they only accept applications from this legal structure, so therefore I should probably go for that legal structure. But then you're like looking at that legal structure and thinking, that's got other barriers to it as well. So you're going to have to do a big pros and cons list. And it's all about being really informed, because you're going there with zero knowledge of all of this. So
did you have help along the way, or like did you have a mentor, or did you just kind of literally learn as you go along? But the Google is maybe
your best resource. Yeah. I was I was quite proactive in like finding the expert help. I had, when I first started, there was a million one things to do, and I just like took a legal structure because I thought that's what I had to do, and because I didn't want to be sued, just in case, because I just heard somewhere that if you just start a business and you start operating, that if you don't have a legal structure, that if anything was to go wrong, you're personally liable for it. So that like freaked me out, because I was doing cookery and you've got knives and you've got fire and you've got young people running around, and I just thought, oh my God, no. So I just got high level insurance and started the company that way, and then figured out all of this as I went along, and then managed to get some proper business support through the University of Manchester, and social enterprise consultancy through there. And so I have a mentor now called Nikki, and she is pretty much an expert in anything social enterprise, and I've known her now for about 4 years, and I see her every month. There's some paid work that she's done for me that I've paid her to do as a consultant. And there's some, now she's doing things for me pro bono, because her circumstances have changed. And she just, we see each other once a month, once every 2 months, just to answer these burning questions that I've always had, to help me through like things like legal structures. And she did the forms and stuff with me when I had to change legal structures as well. So it was really important to have someone to help.
Am I understanding you correctly? So you got the commercial aspect where you do things that you pay for and you make a profit, and then you reinvest some of that to do your social enterprise things. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's partly correct. So I have a set of like products and services which I would charge a profit on. I have cookery courses, I have food business training, I do catering, and I do street food, and all of those things, they have a profit markup on them. But when I'm doing those projects, I'm usually doing them for councils, for schools, for housing trusts. So there's social value in those activities anyways. And sometimes I'm only putting on 10% profit on there. Whereas if a corporate was tasked for catering, it might be something like a 50% profit margin on top of that. So like the quotations that I give vary depending on the client group, and hopefully the whole aim is to hopefully make enough profit at the end of the year to do these free activities. Now that's I think it's quite a difficult thing to reach, and I'm in my 5th year of doing this, and I'm just about doing it now. I've stopped taking grant funding. So previously, the grant funding would have paid for these free activities, if you see what I mean. And I've decided, I don't know, stupidly or bravely, to say no to grant funding now. I might regret that in about 6 months' time. But the whole idea in my mind of a social enterprise is to be a business, ethically trading with a particular, choosing good clients to work with, quoting them properly, in order to make enough money to do all these free activities, which there's not really, you can't really charge for those. So yeah, that's the kind of model that I've got in mind.
You've done some amazing things. I was reading up on things that you've achieved and how people achieve themselves. Can you kind of like expand on them and just sort of share some stories, what people have gone through, because they've started their own businesses and got jobs, haven't they, through your training and being around yourself? So do you sort of like kind of expand on that?
Yeah, sure. So one example I have in mind is a lady called Najwa, and she has 4 children. She's originally from Libya, and she lives in social housing in South Manchester. Now, she came to me through her housing association, Southway Housing, saying that she had a business idea for a catering service and a bakery, or cupcake making service. And so she didn't have any idea about how to do it. The employability officer at the housing trust had no idea how to guide her. So they just like recruited me to come in and kind of do some business mentoring with her. And it was my first, I think she was my first proper business mentee. And now that was about 2 years ago. Now she was on an income support, so claiming benefits. And now she doesn't claim anything. She's completely self-sufficient, making money. She's always doing orders for cakes and catering. And she does this from her kitchen, by the way. And she was on BBC News Northwest. Wow. She's brilliant on social media. She just needed, I think, the support and someone to talk to about the business ideas and a place to come away from her family life to work on things. And now that she's operational like this, I see her still, and we do different projects and things together. She helps me out at the Manchester airport markets and things like that. So we're always like chatting about these things, and I think it was just nice to see someone with a real spark, but she just couldn't get anywhere, I think, without having some kind of guidance or things like writing an invoice. She just didn't know how to do that. She knew how to cook and she knew how to talk to people and to get people on board, but she just hadn't, like, the little business admin stuff, or maybe just talking through ideas. That confidence gap with those things was what I hopefully helped her with. So that's one example. Another one was there was a Moss Side girls group. So Moss Side, I don't know if you know, in Manchester has a bit of a bad reputation for gang violence and things like that. So there's a youth group there through the charity Reclaim, and they asked me to come on board and help the girls start a food festival, which is very strange. Very strange things happen in Moss Side. We managed to put on the first Moss Side International Food Festival last year. So wow. And that's the kind of projects I like to be brought onto, and I think it's they see me and they see like a young girl that's just like doing food, like doing street food, like doing catering, a bit of a man's job really in a way, heavy lifting of equipment and big grills and gas bottles and things like that, and they're like, bring me on, and like the girl's like, oh, if she can do it then we can do it. So it's like, if anyone wants to meet me, like, oh, if that girl could do it, then I can do it. Go on. So that's the whole. That's what I try to aim for. Trying to not make it like not very, just down to earth, accessible, very welcoming, and that's the kind of training I like to deliver, and hopefully it has some impact on people.
Wow. I mean, how do you even go about setting up an international food festival? It sounds so complicated and difficult to do.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky on the day. We had great weather, and we had like musical performances. The food went down really, really well. There were queues. Like, it was just brilliant. Yeah, but I think everyone that was involved was pretty exhausted by the end of it. But it was worth it because everyone had everything went well on the day.
How are you? You're doing so many different things. Where do you spend most of your time in the business now, and how do you manage it?
So I spent a lot of time when I first started on street food. So a street food market like that, those were kind of getting popular when I first started. So I don't know if that's like actually factually correct, but I might have been the first person, a first street food trader in Manchester to be a social enterprise and getting young people to do it. And those things, it took a lot of time because you had to first of all, get the people to the market itself, and I had to partner with lots of different schemes to get those people on. And then the markets itself, you've got about a day's worth of food prep and buying of the food, and then the whole day selling and cleaning up, packing up afterwards, and then you've got to have like a couple of hours just cashing up, like understanding like how much you paid for things and doing analysis on recipes and things like that. And it was fun, but Manchester's really rainy and really windy sometimes, and we were doing a lot of like fresh food, like fresh salads and stuff that just wouldn't carry over, so it would break my heart sometimes to have a lot of food left over. So we did, you win some, you lose some, but I think I just stopped doing street food markets like in the last year. I've like very much like stepped away from it, and the only event we really do now, which is a regular thing, is at the airport, Manchester Airport, and that's inside, and we've got lovely electrics and a fridge and stuff like that, and it's a brilliant market because it's just inside and really well run and really well branded. However, we do street food events, like if someone's booked us for a barbecue, for instance, like Manchester Business School, every year they bring us in to do a staff barbecue, for instance. So we do things outside, but we tend to now do them when they're all pre-ordered and all paid for in advance. So we know exactly how many people we need to serve, rather than kind of bring food and sell it and just see how things go. Because I think it just, profit per hour, the analysis there just didn't make sense. So now I really concentrate on my food business training and my cookery courses. Not only do they have more impact, I think, on people, because you can really build a relationship with people through those courses, they also make more sense for the business financially. So I spend a lot of time doing that. There's been a bit more of a focus on food business training. Obviously, you've seen the course that I've just created, because there's been a big demand for food business training, but I can't like physically always go and deliver. So that's why I've created an online course. And I'm hoping that this year, coming up 2019, is when I can really use that resource to bring in some more income for the business.
Okay, brilliant. So how did you learn to cook? Were you self-taught? Tell me like how you got into it.
I'm completely self-taught. Amazing. So I actually didn't really get to cook very much at home when I was growing up, like in my family home, because like my parents just wouldn't let me, like they didn't like me cooking because I'd just leave a lot of mess. I'd try like baking scones like at 10 at night, and then I'd just get tired and not wash up. So they just wake up and they just get really annoyed. And like they're kind of like parents that if I'm in the kitchen, if I make something, I put a dirty spoon down, with the intention of making it, like using it again, they'll like pick it up and like put it in the sink and wash it. And I'm like, I'm going to use that again. It's just people, they like are really on top of you. So I just didn't really cook that much, but I loved food. I was watching so many like these cookery shows like MasterChef and whatnot, and I was just like, I want to work in a kitchen. I was like, my mom's like, no, you're going to university. You're not going to work in the kitchen. It's very hard work. I'm like, okay. So I went to university, and that was my time, like when I lived on my own, like in halls. And I was like, oh my god, I can cook anything I want now. So I was just like making like not that fancy stuff, but like I could finally like try out new things. And I don't know, I just used to think about food all the time. Like I started doing yoga at uni as well, but I used to think about dinner all the time when you were in yoga. So I was like, okay, this is something I'm really interested in. But I was at the same time, I thought, okay, but I had my like serious degree, politics and economics. It's like, can't get really more serious than that. So I thought, but I can't like work in food. Obviously I can eat it and enjoy it, but I'm not going to work in it. No way. I have to get a job as a management consultant. That's what everyone's doing. But then like this opportunity, like in my third year, I just realized, actually I managed to like do some volunteering at this charity in food. I can pursue this. I'll just give it like a couple of months, like 6 months after uni, just to give it a go. And I actually like, food is just something that you can just get better and better at over time. There's so much to learn in food, and it's just so essential as well, just to be able to feed yourself. And I just think it's the most useful, enjoyable, joyous activity ever. So like, even though I might not be working, I still love food and I'm still thinking about food. And that's how I got into it. And I think I will be into it like forever. I just love it.
I just wanted to go back on a point there. So you're studying a very serious degree, and like you said, you tend to go down the route of either management consultancy or banking, don't you? And especially when you've got peer pressure from your family to go down a certain route. What was going through your mind, and how did you approach it to not conform to what society thinks you should do, and follow your passion? What was your thought process?
I think I was listening to a lot of, or watching a lot of TED Talks at this stage, about like, they've got a lot of work, passion, that kind of stuff talks, and they really resonated with me at the time. So that was kind of encouraging me to think a little bit outside the box. But obviously I was in a degree course which had very like set pathways. Like we had corporate sponsorship for the society, like basically trying to poach all of us for like graduate schemes and whatnot. And I just the thing is, for me, I looked at these management consultancies and the jobs available, and I honestly just didn't understand the job. Like I was like, what do you do? I mean, what is audit? I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So like, I just thought, if I don't know what this job application is for or this internship is for, I can't do it. Like, it just, like, I wouldn't first of all get it because I just don't understand the job role. I'm just like, oh, you know, whatever. So first of all, I just thought, okay, there's no point doing that because I don't understand it. Yeah, so I just like, I just, for me, it was like, okay, I've learned all these things around these political philosophy topics, like inequality, like how unemployment affects people, you know, global issues, or, you know, women in the workplace, etc. How can I like not ignore that when I am volunteering after charity in Manchester with young people aged 18 to 24? I'm right within that age group. These young people have not been to university. They have aspirations, but they just are so downtrodden already in their lives. But they're so young and they've got so much potential. There was just part of me is that I can't like spend my full-time working hours doing something that doesn't help this situation. I couldn't make that work for myself. So it's like not really a choice. It was just a duty. How can I just ignore all my studies and just ignore these people that I'm like become really close to? So that was the inspiration, and that's again like a motivation now 5 years later as to why I continue to do what I do. I think things have actually been getting worse since then. I thought it was quite bad then in 2013, right, seeing after the 2008 financial crash and impacts of austerity, but it's actually now that things seem to be in a worse situation, especially with food poverty. You know, school holidays are a very hard time for families. There's more and more division, I feel, and inequality. So I just, you know, I have to go down this pathway of doing something a bit different, because how is anything going to change if I just ignore it and want a very, very comfortable life for myself? At the same time, like, how in my mind, that just couldn't happen. I just had to do something about it. So that's how what was going through my mind anyways. That's doing something a bit different.
Wow. It's just so refreshing to hear, because I suppose the typical story is people go down the corporate route and they follow the university route, and then they go into employment, and they sort of go in the rat race, and they're on a hamster wheel, and then at some point later on in life they realize that they're just on the wrong path, and then they make the decision to do the things that they really want. But the fact that you were so self-aware to do that at such a young age and just go for it that's really inspirational, and I just think that's really amazing thing to do.
But that could have easily been me if I hadn't like thought to myself, I need to do something a bit different and volunteer. I wouldn't have been exposed to any of this, so I wouldn't have like realized what social enterprise was at such an early age and then gone for it. But that could have easily been me if I was a bit lazier at university and just wanted to party or just study or whatever, and not leave the student bubble. Then that would have easily been me, because I wouldn't have the inspiration or the ideas or exposure to do that. So that's what I really encourage people to do is, if you've got those 3 years doing a degree, or, you know, even if you don't go to university, try to like extend your social circle and meet people that aren't like you. Might be the same demographic as you, but they just might come from different life situations, and just kind of follow your nose and don't be like afraid to do something a bit different outside of your normal routine, because that's where those kind of ideas and inspiration and like a bit of energy come from. And I think, you know, at university, a lot of young people, that's structure, you know, there's so much structure in life with, you know, education. You've got your GCSEs, your A levels, BTECs, whatever, and then you go to university. That's 3 years of a degree, and then maybe people do masters because they don't know what to do, and then they do a PhD because they still don't know what to do. I don't know exactly, but it's just structure. So when you leave university, the reason why people go down this hamster wheel thing of graduate schemes and all of that, because it offers, again, structure and progression, and kind of like, oh, in 5 years' time, I'll be here. So people crave that structure and security, and I completely understand why people like to do that. But at the same time, you know, that structure and security is a bit of a farce, because, as you say, some people only realize this, you know, further down the line, and then they just quit their jobs. much later on. So there's the security in knowing that you're following what you want to do and what you feel is right. So that's the way I made it make sense in my mind, is that yes, I might not have the security, financial security, and I might not have, colleagues and progression set out for me in a corporate graduate career, but at least I've got security in the fact that I'm doing something that I know is right.
I just mentioned some good points there. I just want to ask you about, so you're talking about structure, and in employment you've got a structure, or you go to university, you got a structure, then you go into employment, you've got a structure, you've got a salary structure, you've got a career structure, you've got promotional structure. But running a business, you really don't have any structure, and especially when you're starting off, you where's the first paycheck coming from? Where's next month's paycheck coming from? What strategies mentally or models or methodologies have you used to stay the course and keep following what you want to do?
Yeah, I think this is a really important point, because there's a lot of back work that happens in the background that no one sees. So I have to be super, super disciplined. I work on for lunch pretty much a little bit every day, at least. Like even on the weekends, I'll be working on something. And I first started my kind of structure schedule really badly. I was waking up maybe at 11 a.m. when this is when I graduated from university, like August 2013. That's when I started. I thought, okay, everyone's doing their graduate jobs or they're still looking for work, but I'm going to stay here in the student area and I'm going to work on this. I've got money in the bank from previous work that I had done in retail. But also I had a grant from the university, which I think would have lasted me about 6 months. It was meant to. If I didn't make any money, I still would have had that money to live off. So that was okay. 6 months. So I was just kind of open space of 6 months. And I was still in that was just my body clock. I would wake up really late, but then go to bed really late. And I thought that was okay because I'm an entrepreneur and that's my life. I get to choose. And then I started to do lots of weekend events, like with street food and things like that. So I was working really hard on Saturdays. So I wouldn't actually have time to catch up with people and have social time, or I'd be too tired to do it. I'd go and I'd just be exhausted. So I think it's a really slow transition to making it to how I am now. I wake up pretty much at the same time every day, around 8:30. And then I say to myself, I used to feel really guilty. I used to be like, okay, I need to wake up at 6 and then start. But it actually just doesn't work for me. My body clock just doesn't work like that. And it's just knowing what the best times of day are to work and to make time for other enriching things like yoga and meditation, and eating good food. There's no point in me eating crap if I'm doing what I'm doing. I do have some days. It's just taking time to cook myself a meal. So what I tend to do now, I think this is the good practice which I've managed to nail down, is to wake up 8:30, just sit down in my chair with a cup of tea for half an hour. I do a meditation for 10 minutes and then I plan out my day. That day plan is related to I've got a big to-do list, which is categorized, obviously. And my day plan will be based on anything that's urgent that I need to attend to, but also things in the I know that I will need to do in advance. And also I kind of think about what do I feel like doing today. I kind of put that into the mix as well, and I'll actually have a sketch a written down from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm doing this. From 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm doing this, and then I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to do this, and then it will be literally a timed plan, but not to 15 minutes. It's by the hour. And I'll have I might put in an hour gap for a nap if I'm feeling a bit tired. I will literally put I am going to have a nap down on a piece of paper to keep it's very important. Or I will go for a run, or I will go to yoga. Those are things that are really important to me as well. So that's how I try and plan things on the day. And then I also have a week planner, Monday to Sunday. And I was just doing a bit now, that week planner, and then looking at, I've got an Outlook calendar as well for the whole year that it's got I can put anything that comes in from a year from now. I'll put it in color coded, and I'll have a week plan, then I'll have the day plan as well. So it's like you have to work on your business pretty much every day or think about it every day. I don't work ridiculous hours, I don't think. I try to switch off by like 6 by that time. But obviously if I'm doing an event, I might have to wake up or cook until maybe 10 at night and wake up a bit early to pack the car and go off and stuff. But, you know, those things, you know, don't have to do it every day.
I really like the way you have developed your business around how you work best, and you've got so much self-awareness to realize that and not fall into that trap of I need to have 2 hours sleep and work non-stop.
Yeah, I mean, I used to feel quite guilty because I didn't really like know how I should be working. I used to read like, you know, these Silicon Valley type things about how you should be hustling and blah, 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 blah. And I would just be like, oh, I'm not doing this, therefore I am shit. Like, and I used to feel like quite guilty about, like, my body physically couldn't. I'm always like this. I've been like this my whole life. I can work so intensely for 4 hours, maybe 3 hours, and a gap in another hour, and then past that, and I have a meal. I'm like, oh my god, I'm a zombie, because it's just my brain is just like, it's been used up for that day. And it's a bandwidth, and you've only got so much bandwidth per day, and not everyone is built the same way. So I just do need to have a little lie down or something like that. I had to lie down before this podcast for 20 minutes because I knew I wanted to give you fully my whole self. I didn't want to feel like I'm thinking about something else that I need to do. I didn't want to think that I was not giving my full energy towards this, because everything that I try to do, like, I don't want to give a half-assed job. And I made the mistake. I continue to make mistakes like this. I continue to put too much in my diary, of course. But I'm a bit better at it now. But I remember doing things like, I did like a brunch event for 30 people. So I was kind of done by 12. And then I had a cookery workshop at like 3. So I didn't even go home. I just went straight to that workshop. And that was for like 15 kids. And I'm like doing that in a day. And that's a very busy day, like, to do brunch prep, clean down, and then go and do a cookery workshop. It's a lot to do. And I thought, oh yeah, I can do it. But I made so many mistakes, and I just wasn't enjoying it. And that's the key thing. I just wasn't there. And I'm meant to be someone that's like inspiring people to cook, enjoying food, having a laugh, getting people to forget about things and just enjoy like this activity that we're doing. And if I can't be that person, I'm not doing my job properly. So yeah, I do these things now, and I'm like, you know what, it's completely fine. Like, it depends. Always you have to think, what is success like to me? And some people, it's about the money, it's about like power, and it's about and that's the kind of overarching ideas that we have in society anyways of what success is. Unfortunately, I don't like that. Isn't going to fulfill me, and I don't think it will fulfill people in the long term either. So yeah, I decided, you know, I don't know when I decided this, but it was a gradual process.
I was going to say to you, what was the switch? How did you go from feeling guilty to one of acceptance, and this is the way you are? Was it gradual, or did you read something? Or...
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't think there was an exact date or the exact time. It was more like a gradual realization. So I started maybe before lunch with this guilty feeling that, why am I not waking up at the time that I thought I should be waking up? Why am I not working as hard? Why am I not making up like the amount of money that I should be? Is that I should be? And I'm like, what is this standard? So for the first couple of years, I felt like this, and then like I realized that, you know, by that time I'd done these projects, I'd had this impact, I had been getting good feedback. You know, clients kept booking me. Like, you know, it's became easier to like get orders in, and I get repeat things now, you know. So, and I just like realized, oh, actually I'm doing what I intended to do, and I don't need to work that hard or feel guilty. It's making my experience a lot less enjoyable. It's choosing to suffer. So I thought, you know, I think that gradual realization, like now I'm like, oh, all right, brilliant. I can, obviously, you know, it's not perfect. I'm not like on cloud 9 all the time, but there is an understanding now that if I need to go and just have a bit of half a day off just to do what I need to do, then that's fine, you know, and I don't feel that guilty about it anymore.
Okay, it sounds like you've had a lot of challenges, but what's been your biggest challenge to date, and how did you overcome it?
Oh my God, what a question. I think the biggest challenges have been about letting things go. Because I get a lot of ideas and things like they do come to fruition, and some things they get a little bit of traction and they don't really come to fruition either. One of the things that I had to let go was street food markets, because just looking at the finances and thinking about how I felt afterwards, I didn't feel great. And because I'd kind of been defined by that at the beginning, because I did so many, letting those events go was pretty hard. And I thought, oh God, what are people going to think of me? I'm a fraud. Like, I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. That was hard to let go of that. And then also the cafe idea, because I'd gone through this cafe opportunity and spoken to the organizations involved and things like that, got really deep into that opportunity, and then realizing that, oh my God, I don't want to do this anymore. And letting that go was pretty hard. Like, it's just because I kind of talk myself into these things and talk myself up to people when I meet them, like, this is what I want to do, blah blah blah. And then when I kind of let those things go, it's like I feel like I'm backtracking and I'm a fraud. So it's like letting go of like people don't care what I do. People only care about what they're up to. I don't mind if someone that I knew said they were going to do this and then did something else. Like, who am I to judge? You know what I mean? And then I had to like remember that that like, actually people don't actually care what I'm doing.
I'm also interested to know what's your vision for the future for lunch.
So I'm okay with not being well known. I'm actually fine with that. I'm fine with the scale that I'm at. I'm fine being like a one-woman band with lots of great volunteers and lots of freelancers on my books. Like, that's how I like it. And I used to have a big grand idea about having my own premises. And I actually looked very, very deep into that project. I went over to Berlin to work in a cafe there, as part of a European Union. Well, it's not there anymore. It's called Erasmus for Entrepreneurs. And I did that scheme, one of the last people to do that scheme, to find out exactly what it'd take to do a cafe style offer here in Manchester. And I went for a big tender that it could have been a good project, but it required a lot of money to get started. And I just realized, part of myself, that I wasn't really someone to want to take on staff right now. So with those restrictions, the vision for Fort Lunch has changed, I suppose, like from what it was like a few years ago. I want my online courses to kind of take off, and hopefully that bring in income, and hopefully have those courses reach people around the UK, not just in Greater Manchester. And then all the resources that I have for cookery workshops to be online, as well as to form part of a course as well. And that has to take, I'm not sure exactly what shape that's going to take, but that's what I want to do, because it's all kind of sitting on my computer in Word documents, all of these recipes and lesson plans and worksheets and stuff. And it would be nice to have an online resource for that. In terms of the cookery workshops and catering and things, just to almost just continue what I'm doing and get more people on board to do that, maybe more regular jobs with those things. And very importantly, the vision for it is to make enough profit from all those activities to do a program for young people leaving care. So I think that's a group that could really benefit from cookery skills, and learning to cook from scratch, from kitchens and things like that, cheaply and on a budget. And that's a project which doesn't have that much funding behind it. So I'm thinking that I'm in a position that I could offer free workshops. So I want to be in a position basically to have made enough money to donate these workshops to this group of people in that sector. So that's my vision. I think it's quite a modest vision, and that's what I would like. I'm not too fussed about people knowing who I am. I just want to do some. I just want to do some good work in the community that I'm in, and we'll see what goes from there. And just continue, the continuation of these products that I've created, and just seeing them get out there.
I just love how you are not influenced by anything other than what makes you happy. I just think that's so refreshing. And it's been a while since I don't think I've actually I've met a handful of people with your mindset, and I just think it's really special. That's just so nice to hear. So there's no, I mean, you're in cooking. You are fantastic on camera. Seeing your YouTube, some of your YouTube videos. You've got a wealth of knowledge. I'm guessing there's no plans then to bring out a YouTube channel or any cooking books. Is that something you're just not interested in?
I am interested in it in a sense, but it's not really like I wouldn't die if it didn't happen. Like I'm more focused on getting the courses that I've already created to more people in Greater Manchester, and I think those things like a cookery book would be quite nice. But the reason I didn't want to do a cafe, for instance, is because, like you in your journey, it just didn't align with my values. My values are about kind of minimal impact. I don't want to create lots of waste. I don't want to create lots of packaging waste and food waste and things like that. So hence why I don't do that much catering and that much street food, because it was kind of like hurting me a bit. Like my heart would break when about the food stuff. So I thought, God, if I was doing this en masse, like for a cafe, like obviously I tried to stop the food waste, but you know, those things happen inevitably. I also had to think about like my other values about just like, do I feel comfortable being in control of someone's livelihood, like their money, like their salary, their pensions and things like that? I'm not there yet. And I had to be like, no, I don't want to do that. But a cookery book does kind of fit within the values that I want I have. And I have I love to write, I love to blog, and I love to share recipes and things like that. So it's definitely, you know, something up further down the line, but it's not like something that's right here that I'm thinking about. But it's definitely it's definitely on the books. Another thing that I might want to add actually to what I'm doing is I am at the moment creating these Airbnb experiences. They're called social impact experiences. So you can actually hold activities like cookery workshops and have that on Airbnb. And Airbnb have relinquished the fee, which they normally take from experiences. So it all goes towards the organizational, the stuff that we do for the community. So I am designing a couple of these cookery workshops to be available to the public to come and do, so that they can buy a ticket and then they know that it's going to go towards these projects that we have. So that's one thing that I've got on the pipeline as well. So it's basically doing more of like, I've got the outline of I've got these products, but it's like I could change them slightly for different markets. It's about like, you know, just seeing how they like tinker with them a little bit, but it's not about doing anything like massively huge or like on a huge national scale or international scale. It's just like about I feel like I've got a good resource there. It's about like, how can I just tinker with it slightly to make it to just bring it to more people.
So you seem like someone who comes up with a wealth of ideas, and then those ideas that you're doing often, from the sounds of it, need resources or other people involved. Can you talk me through your methodology or your thought process, how you are coming up with ideas, and then how you're bringing that idea from a concept in your head to real life, and how you're networking to make that all come alive?
Yeah, so I think a good example would be like these food business events that I've got coming up. So the Recipe for Success course is I suppose, the newest thing that I've been working on, although I have been working on it for 2 years. And that came about through face-to-face working with people, people emailing me, calling me up saying, I've got a food business idea, or I know someone with a food business idea. Can you help them? Because you seem to like have done it. So can you like transfer your knowledge? And I realized that something that I feel is obvious is actually not to someone else. And there's a learning package there. So all of the products and ideas I have, they're all based on someone actually like repeated requests for the things. So I know that there's a market out there, or like a small market out there of something, or it'll be useful. Anyways, like it doesn't matter if it's going to make money, it's useful to some people. So I wouldn't like just create something out of the blue because I like it, but it's like, oh, I'm interested in this, plus people are asking for it. So I respond very directly to these requests, and I will create something of a package which is manageable for me to meet that need. And then these food business events, I had a little bit of grant funding to do something with, to promote the course. And I just thought, like, you know, it just kind of, I let my mind settle in these moments. and I just like think about maybe what would be useful to use this money towards. And now I've created some 5 food business events that are happening in January in Manchester. The titles are of making it as a caterer, making it as a community food project, making it as a street food trader. I've even got one making it as a restaurant and bar in Manchester. So all of these things I have to think about, who do I know, who's like I know is passionate about sharing these things and creating events around these kind of concepts, and then thinking about like different marketing channels to use and blogs and podcasts and videos and all those things that I could explore. Those are kind of like, it's as simple as like doing a little bit of a notebook, like brainstorm about, okay, and then narrowing it down to what is manageable with my time and what I'm interested in as well. So yeah, it's just the idea process. You have to like let it happen when it happens and not be too like, oh, I'm going to sit down here, I'm going to design this. It doesn't happen that way. You just have to like do the work every day, sit down at your desk every day and kind of like follow your nose for a bit, and it will come.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. I just want to get to know you more as a person as well. And I mean, you've given us all a really great insight into how your mind works as well. But I just wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper in there about yourself. In the last year or two, have you implemented a tool or behavior or a thing that's added value to your life, made a positive impact, or made your life easier? It could be an app on your phone, it could be a hobby or something.
Well, recently, I think it was day 15 today. So I started this course called Waking Up. It's by Sam Harris, and it's an app for my phone. And I listen to his podcast a lot, Waking Up. And Sam Harris is this guy who's a neuroscientist, philosopher, writer, and he's done a lot of meditation retreats and things like that. And I think his podcast is like one of the most insightful, intelligent pieces of media that I've ever consumed. It's just fantastic. So recently I came back off holiday for my friend's wedding. I was in Sri Lanka for 3 weeks, as I mentioned. And I just was so frazzled coming back to work. I was looking forward to it, but I think I came back home and I was like, oh my God, there's so many things to do. Like, just not like life admin. I find life admin so hard. Like, it's just things like, like I need to fix this, fix my Hoover, or I don't know. It's just stupid things. I find it really difficult. Like, why don't things go to plan? Why don't things work? And this guy, Sam Harris, like he had I think it was a lesson within this app. And it was just like, everything that you have that, helps you to live comfortably will break in the end. It's inevitable. Like, there's just like, I had an issue with my printer, and I do cookery classes, so I need to print loads of recipes out and stuff like that. And I'm like, why won't this printer work? Why is it coming out the wrong color? It's just not coming out at all. Like, this is the kind of stuff that annoys me and will get me down for the rest of the day. So I just was like, this is enough. I cannot do this. I can't suffer like this anymore. What can I do to stop? And meditation is such a Western way to think about it. I need to be more productive, so I need to meditate. It's just so silly, but I'm doing it for other benefits too. So yeah, I would say meditation is the newest thing that I would say has had such an impactful benefit just after 2 weeks of doing 10 minutes a day. The
10 minutes in the morning that you do.
10 minutes in the morning. And then I find out throughout the day that when I'm getting a little bit stressed out, I like manage to remember that I was meditating and stuff. So I like try to breathe a bit. And it's so ridiculous just breathing, but yeah, it does work, just to punctuate the fact that this is going to pass. This stress that I'm experiencing right now will pass, and I'll forget about it. I won't even know what I was stressed about in 30 minutes time.
What type of meditation is it?
Guided meditation through the app, and he just talks about concentrating on breathing first of all for the first like couple of lessons, and then it's all about like focusing on sound, sensations, feelings, moods, and like not seeing the stream of consciousness for what it is. So we often find ourselves like lost in thought and thinking about something that happened yesterday or a year ago or what's going to happen in the future, and all of these things like aren't right the present moment. So you need to like just go and focus just on what's happening right now and see your body as being within space, and not being a self and forgetting the ego. Just, you are a body in space, and your brain is just a process, and consciousness itself is just a process. Things come and go, they arrive and they disappear, and we sometimes, a lot of the time, suffer because we hold on to these things and feelings. So can you just, in these 10 minutes, sit in your chair and breathe? It's so powerful. Super powerful. Yeah. And it's got all these lessons as well about lots of different dimensions of the self, consciousness, free will, freedom. Very deep stuff, but yeah, it's a really nice way to start the day.
I'll have a look into that one. What's your most recommended book?
Recommended book. I just read a book called The War on Normal People, and it's by a guy called Andrew Leong. I think he's got the same surname as you.
I was going to say, yeah.
He might have the same surname. I could be mistaken for the surname, but this guy, I think he's campaigned to like be one of the nominees for the presidency of the United States next time. It's a very novel way to get his message out, and it's about automation and artificial intelligence. So about how there's a lot, like, in the future with economic progress and things like that, with the dawn of AI and self-driving cars and things like that, what is going to happen to society? I think that was a really interesting book to think about the economic future, and then, if what we're going to do right now, is it futile, and maybe thinking about what constitutes like a real life. Like, do we just stop working itself, or is there something intrinsic about work that is actually enjoyable and like feeling productive? Those are like things that give us our lives meaning. And he's talking about how a lot of meaning has been lost in the American lives because of automation.
I seen a video the other day, and it was I can't remember the name of the company, but everything was automated by robots in the warehouse, packing deliveries. It's amazing to see, but it was also very scary. Who inspires you?
I think my mentor, Nikki, definitely. She is just the kindest person that I've met, and she's able to talk about these quite high level concepts very, very simply. And she just has a way about her of connecting with all her clients. I know this for a fact because I've met some of her other clients, and they're just like, yeah, she's brilliant. She completely gets me. And I was like, what kind of trick is she playing? She just, I don't know how she's managing to connect like with what I had, like what I'm trying to achieve so greatly. And I think that ability to do that is just so inspiring. I think she's brilliant. Like, I come away from her, meeting her, just feeling like super energized, but also like completely exhausted, because it's like everything that I've been thinking about recently just has been like laid out there so bare. And to be able to connect with someone like that, she's got this ability to do that with a lot of people, not just me. And I'm just like, wow, she's like so amazing. And I get inspired. I was really inspired also by the woman that I worked with in Berlin, whose coffee shop that I worked in for this scheme that I talked about. Her name was Sophie, and she's English, but she went over to Berlin to start to work as a teacher and to start a coffee shop, as you do. So she works as a full, like, I don't know if she's full time, but she works as a science teacher for at A-level level in Berlin. But she also runs this incredible coffee shop, and it's number one on TripAdvisor as like a latest. I think it's still number one for coffee and tea in Berlin. So it's always mad busy. She's just got a way about her where she's super calm. She connects with her staff really well. She just has got an amazing ability to kind of do it all. And I know that maybe not something that you should aspire to, but she always seemed really super calm, and she always had some time for me, it seemed. And I just liked, she's opened another coffee shop as well in Berlin, which I have yet to go to. She does have support from great staff, I think, but she's also a school teacher, and she just like kind of took things in her stride. She never wrote anything down, really. She somehow managed to have 16 members of staff and be a teacher, and kind of like have fun afterwards as well. I bumped into her at a gig in Berlin randomly on like a Friday night, and she was just like having a great time. So it's just like those kind of people that, you know, they do a lot with their lives, and I'm just thinking, whoa, wow, like that's how I want to be too. So I try my best to be like that.
She sounds like Superwoman now.
I know. I need to go back
Wow.
and see that new cafe.
You got so many skills, you're doing so many different things, and you have to be as an entrepreneur. If you had to place more weight on one skill that's helped you get where you are today, what would that skill be?
I would say website stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
anything to do with building a website, making it look nice, understanding how Google works. That's one thing that I completely neglected at the beginning. I didn't think it was worthwhile doing it. Like, I had a website, but I didn't know like how it was being seen by Google or the branding and stuff like that. So I actually spent a lot of time going for training around SEO, search engine optimization, and spending a lot of time getting the branding right for the business. I rebranded I had 2 other logos before I got the one I've got now, and the branding, and I just made a decision. I was like, I know it's going to cost a lot of money, but I'm going to get proper graphic designers to come in and do all of this. So it's just like, that's the way people perceive businesses. It's through brands and websites and stuff. And I just think, like, especially in social enterprise, people just think, oh, we're doing so much good work, therefore we don't need to work on this branding side. It's a bit superficial to do it, but I think that's actually a really bad way to go about it. You really need to invest and understand all these things, because now, like, if I'm visible on Google, I get more business in and I don't have to work so hard, therefore I can dedicate more of that time to the social stuff. So it's like, you know, being a bit more, I don't know, more aware of those benefits.
Okay, I've got one last question.
Okay.
And what advice would you give someone who wants to start their business and kind of maybe feel a bit overwhelmed? What advice would you give someone?
I would say that if you're feeling overwhelmed and you just feel that it's just 101 things to do, like, that's completely normal. And just to be really patient with yourself. It's absolutely fine not to have it all figured out at the beginning. You just need to, like, make little progress every day, and it will come together. Try not to be too harsh on yourself for not knowing. You just don't know what you don't know. And we're living in a time now where you can get anything, really, the information that you need online somehow, and that's really liberating, but it can also be a bit paralyzing, because you're like, oh, I should know everything, but you've only got so much time. Look after yourself physically and mentally first, and then work on the business, and it will if we bring a positive and, like, healthy mindset to it, then it will all come together. You don't have to know everything right now.
If people want to reach out to you, can they, and how can they?
Yeah, of course they can. So my email address is Amy, AMY, at 4lunch, the number 4, the word lunch.co.uk. That's the best way to get in contact. I also have my website, www.forlunch.co.uk, and you can see I've got a course called Recipe for Success there for anyone that's got food business ideas. And then wants maybe some online guidance, and also some mentoring sessions are available. They can check out what we've got there. And if anyone is in Manchester, please do reach out. And I've got some events in January, as I mentioned, that people can come along to and meet me.
Amazing. Okay, Amy, thank you so much for being on the episode. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.